Everybody, welcome back to the Brandy Yvonne channel. Of course, I'm your girl, Brandy Yvonne. Here on my channel, we do fun reviews, recaps, and discussions of all of our favorite shows. This video will be Love and Marriage Huntsville. This is season 4, episode 14. I believe the title was New Atlanta, Old Tricks. Okay, if you are new to my channel, please don't hesitate to click that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this video, please click that like button. Even if you didn't enjoy it, click it anyway, right? Also share and comment. I know I'm a couple days late with this Love and Marriage Huntsville. Saturday, I had a little shindig, so I couldn't even watch the shows or record. So today is definitely a catch-up day. I'm gonna try to get all my videos done. Also, I did watch the new College Hill Celebrity Edition, which was really good. I'm into it. So I'm going to try to do the videos. I got to see how BET Plus does their episodes. Because sometimes if they put all the episodes out at once, it's not as fun to review it, in my opinion. So we're going to just put a question mark on that one. But I did enjoy the episode they showed last night after the BET Awards. All right. Let me know in the comments if y'all watch BET Awards. I thought they were good, but I will not be reviewing them, okay? But I know like It's Rocks and other YouTubers do great reviews of BET Awards usually, so y'all look out for them on the YouTube streets. Anyway, let's get into this review already. Okay, so the episode opens back up down in Atlanta. You know, they still doing the wine thing, y'all. And so looks like this is like the big party, not like when they had the little party with all the women there. This is like the big tasting party, which I wonder why they're having so many separate events, but you know, I guess they're trying to make the most of the trip and, you know, the business and all that. So anyway, they had men and women there this time. Martell puts on this white blazer with this giant white fur hanging on his shoulder. I don't know why he was wearing that. I didn't know what it was on his shoulder. I said, what is with this white fur on this man's shoulder? What is going on? He was really trying to stand out. He was trying to show he was the man at the party. I mean, already in the white suit, he was clean, but then he added that giant fur on there. I was like, what is going on in the name of this fur? Somebody on my Twitter said that it was an albino raccoon. Never heard of it. I don't know if that's what it is or not. However, it's just still, it's all wrong. Dead wrong, remove it. Anyway. But other than that, Martell looked good, of course. You know, we see Marcel there, Maurice was there, Lewis, of course. Chris Fletcher made it down there, and Fred, Martell's business partner, was there. So then they're all talking to Martell and congratulating him, saying, you know, this all came together because of you, and, you know, you're honoring your grandma. This is amazing. You know, you're doing your thing. And so then Martell decides to make a speech. So he calls up all the fellas up there. He called up Marcel and Martell and Lou and Fred and Chris and all that. And he kind of looked at the uncle, but I don't think in his mind he thought to call the uncle up. And so then he begins to make a speech. But you could tell Martell was already tipsy. Like, Martell really is not a drinker. You could tell he is not a drinker. Because from that little bit of wine he had, he was so flushed and like tipsy already. Oops. Sorry y'all. So I'm like, oh yeah, Martell can't handle a sip of wine. He really does not drink. So then he was like stumbling to talk and pausing, and they was like, it's okay, it's okay. And then Marcel, his confessionals were saying, you know, I could see this being difficult for Martell. Basically, he didn't say it in these words, but basically he was saying he knows it's probably difficult for Martell because usually him and Mel did launch things together, did events together, and they showed all the flashbacks of Mel always going up there to do the talking. And then if Martell went up there with her, he was just kind of standing there and looking, but he never was the one out in the forefront. Melody was always the one in the forefront. So for Martell to have to step out and talk on his own and be, you know, solo is going to be a challenge for him, and which we could tell it was. So anyway, Martell was kind of stumbling over his words, and then he gave a speech, and he didn't mention like his grandma or any of the family and the wine's name and the significance in that speech. And Uncle Sam was just kind of looking. You can tell Uncle Sam was not pleased, okay? So Uncle Sam was not happy with Martell's speech at all, and Martell even thanked all the fellas that he had up there. He didn't mention Uncle Sam, and he didn't mention the grandma and none of that. Okay, so then after he stumbled over that horrible speech, I'm not going to even try to regurgitate it because I don't remember what he said, y'all. Y'all watched the episode. So anyway, excuse me. So then he came down, and then Martell and Melnika went outside, and Melnika was like, okay, we at the finish line. We did this. We put it together. We making these moves. Next launch be, next wine thing they'll have be in Huntsville and do it different and all that. Okay, so then Martell's outside. Uncle Sam comes outside. The fellas are inside. They trying to take a picture in front of the Inez wine sign, but, excuse me, Martell was nowhere to be found, right? I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm so burpy. Anyway, then Martell's Uncle Sam came outside, right? And so then he was like, Martell was like, hey, Uncle, what's going on? What's wrong? Because you could tell his uncle was mad. So then the uncle was saying, like, you didn't even mention the name, where it came from. Like, that's my mom. Like, what's wrong with you? How dare you? And then Martell, now this is how he drunk. Because when you're drunk, or y'all been drinking, because I done did this before, and you don't really want somebody to know something, but you don't know how to whisper, right? You be like, trying not to tell them, but you really end up telling them what you didn't want them to know anyway, because I done did that plenty of times before. So anyway, so Martell gets close and whispers into his ear, but we all hear it, Martell. Hey man, Uncle, we on national TV. You don't really want to do this right now. This is not a good idea. We on national TV, man. Don't do this right now. So I'm like, Martell, we can all hear you whispering on national TV. Like, why are you doing it? So anyway, the uncle was like, he don't give a damn. We on national TV. Like, you needed to, celebrate your grandma in this moment. This is my mom. Like, how dare you? So my Uncle Sam was like kind of irritated with Martell. Martell was like, man, come on, what about my respect? Show me some respect. I don't know why Martell talking about he needed some respect in this moment, because in this moment, Uncle Sam needed the respect put on his name, on his mama's name. And Martell wasn't getting that. Now, in my opinion, I agree, like, with what the fella said. Like, I don't think Martell intended to offend his family or his uncle in any kind of way. And the uncle was there with his wife, I believe. I don't think that was his intentions. I think, number one, he sucks at making speeches. He was nervous. He probably wasn't even thinking about it. Like he said later on the episode, he plans to do a more intimate setting with more family, close family friends, and he talked about it there. So I think Martell didn't intend to slight the uncle or the family in any way. However, I wish Martell did apologize in that moment. I just wish he would have been more maybe empathetic of the uncle's feelings. However, the uncle, like, time and place, like, maybe you could have talked to him about that, like, the next day, not right there at the party in front of the cameras, but it made good TV, right? So anyway, and I'm like, was it worth all that, really? Was it worth all that? I don't know. So anyway, I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, y'all. I'm sorry. So anywho, so then they was fussing and arguing. Then they got back inside. Meanwhile, they're inside, and the boys was trying to take a picture. Then Chris Fletcher lets the guys know, did y'all see Uncle Sam, Martell's uncle? He was not happy with the situation. I think he wanted more recognition because, being the grandma and so they're like, oh yeah, because that's his mom. And then they're like, yeah. And then Reese was like, well, I'm sure he didn't mean to. Like, Martell's not good at giving speeches. Like, he probably was already nervous and flustered, and it's the first one. And Marcel was like, yeah, like, it's just a launch. This is just an introduction. I'm sure he will talk about all that in a future event and all that. And so Chris was like, but you only get one time to make first impression, which I agree with Chris Fletcher. My grandma always told me that you only get one time to make first impression, and so you have to use that time wisely. So I get that part. And so they were like, well, yeah, hopefully they work it out and all that. And they said Uncle Sam left and he was mad. And so Lewis was like, well, they both are arguing about the same thing. They're the only two people in the room who this is their family member, and they both love that family member. And so they are both arguing over, their love for that family member. So anyway, then we see Uncle Sam and Martell walking through the house. Looks like Uncle Sam and his wife are trying to leave. And so Martell's following them. I don't know why Martell didn't just leave the uncle alone, but I think he just wanted to apologize maybe. And so then he's following them, and then they kind of try to tell the cameras to go away. But the cameras was hiding, they wasn't going nowhere. And then you had to kind of read the subtitles to see what they was all saying. And the uncle just steady saying, man, that's my mother, that's my brother. Like, what you talking about, respect? And then they went all outside and was still fussing and arguing out there. And it was just a mess. I hope the uncle is not still mad at Martell at this point. I get his upset and all that, because it's his using his mother's name and all that. However, like the timing was a little off, Uncle Sam. And I don't think Martell intended to offend anybody in that moment. But anyway, so anyway, the event is over. Next morning, we see the fellas getting ready to leave Atlanta. Martell was dressed, suited and booted, casket sharp in a nice suit. Marcel also had on a nice shirt. Looked like he wasn't finished getting dressed, but Maurice wasn't dressed as fancy as them. Like, he just had on regular clothes. So, they said Big Lou had left early that morning because he had a family emergency to tend to. So, then the fellas are leaving. They're congratulating for Martell for doing his thing. I wonder if they had like a business meeting or some kind of appointment or something to do after that, because I'm like, ain't y'all just driving back to Huntsville? Why y'all dressed up? But I'm assuming they had some business to do in Atlanta. So anyway, moving on, then we get back down to the house. So we see Maurice and Kimmy. Kimmy says she enjoyed her solitude. The dog went to obedience school. Jalen ain't coming around. He got his own house. And Monster went to Uncle Mike's house. So she was enjoying her peace, her ability to refresh. The house stayed clean because it was just her. So anyway, she's like, okay, let's talk about this trip to Atlanta. Meanwhile, we also see Marcel and Tisha talking about the trip. And so they're playing the scenes back and forth. Oh, we also saw Lewis and Tiffany talking about the trip. Okay, let's get Lou and Tiffany out of the way first. Okay, so I'm not going to try to go back and forth. I'm going to just go through each couple, okay? So we're going to start with Lewis and Tiffany. So Lewis and Tiffany are talking. Tiffany's like, I'm going to drive up to Birmingham. Okay, I didn't like the way she said it because, like, if you're a couple in a family, wouldn't y'all just drive together? She said it as if he was going to get there another way or something. I don't know. It was just weird. But she's like, I'm going to drive to Birmingham tomorrow. Do you want to go? And he's like, yeah, I want to drive with you. And he said he had a death in his family, so it was important to come home and be with his wife and kids. But the way they said it, like, wouldn't y'all go up there together anyway, especially if it's Lewis's family? It sounded like it was Lewis's family, but I don't know. Anyway, so Tiffany was like, how was the trip? Do you feel like, you were there to support Martell or not really or what? And he was like, oh yeah, it was good. And he let her know that there was women at the, tasting and all at the first night. And Tiffany's like, what ladies there? Like, what you mean? And then he's like, oh yeah, Martell's a single man, so he wanted ladies at his party. And then she was like, but you guys are all married. And he was like, yeah, but I know I'm married men know how to conduct themselves for the single women and all this. And so he was saying, we had to be they had like a focus group. The women was a focus group, and we had to pitch commercials. And then she's like, what was your commercial? And then he was like thinking about it, acting like he couldn't really remember. He grinning the whole time. So Tiffany is like, oh, I could tell when you're lying. My husband's lying to me. You got a big smirk on your face. You are excited to tell this story. And Lewis was like, he did have a smirk on his face. But I think he kind of was messing with Tiffany also in that scene. And then he thought about his commercial. When they played the flashback of his commercial, then he said, it slipped his mind right now. He couldn't recall it. He knew what that commercial was. He just didn't want to tell it. But she gonna see it on the playback, Lou. Don't worry about it. So anyway, and then he talked about, I can't remember if he talked about the strip club or not. But anyway, he talked about the rage room they went to, right? And so she was like, okay, well, what did you get your frustrations, out on about? And then he was like, oh, just sexual frustration. And she's like basically like, what you mean you got sexual frustration? And he was like, yeah, that's what I wanted to do. And then she's like, well, if my husband has sexual frustration, that's a problem. That's something we talk about. And he's like, if I already let you know, this is what the issue is. And then it depends on how you choose to address it. And so she's saying they both are busy and they work in the afternoon and they both not available. And then she's saying something about, is it a sexual transaction? Is it this? Is it that? And he's like, are you trying to say it's just a transaction? And, she's basically saying we need to go and have this real conversation about our sex life and how we can improve it. And long story short, don't sound like Lou and Tiffany got anywhere with that conversation. In my opinion, Tiffany basically feels that she gives Lewis plenty of sex and that he's wanting more sex than she can provide. So then at this point, it's turning into a duty. And then, but he don't want her to feel like it's a duty. If she's trying to please her husband. I don't know. Hopefully they get it together. Anyway, enough of the Whitlows. Who cares, right? So anyway, let's get on to Maurice and Kimmy. So Maurice and Kimmy. So Kimmy's okay. Tell me about the trip because it's gonna be on the internet. I want to see about it. So tell me what happened. So then he's like, oh, they had a party. He's like, Melnika. She's like, he made it a point to say that Mel Nika was original Mel 1.0 and Melody is Mel 2.0. And then Kimmy's like, he said that? And so he's like, yeah, you know, and, you know, they had a party. It was all women there. And, you know, Marty, you know, he wanted to celebrate. He wanted to go to the strip club. And so we went to some, you know, kind of famous, well-known strip club of some sort. And, you know, they have good chicken wings there. So like that. So Maurice, you know, over there lying. So then trying to make it about the chicken wings. So Kimmy's like, oh, okay, it's about the chicken wings, huh? And so then he's like, yeah. And then she was like, hey, tell me this and give me a straight answer. She's like, it's not a two-part question. She said, did you touch anybody while you were there? And so then he was like, okay, now touch, what do you mean? Do you mean a bump? Do you mean a tap? What you mean? She's like, no, I don't need you to define the word touch for me. I mean touch. Did your skin come in contact with anybody else's skin while you was out there? So then he was like, yeah, there might have been, you know, a tap of some sort, but not a caress. I was just encouraging fun. Like, that's all it was. It was just encouraging fun. And she was like, you know, anything you do, don't come out on social media later. And he's like, well, I got Steve, y'all. And he's like, I know. So anyway, then he was like, you know, all I did was doing, especially Maurice was saying he was just encouraging fun. He wasn't trying to have nobody do nothing crazy. And so then, I think that was pretty much the end of their conversation, y'all. And then let's go on to, Marcel and Tisha, right? So Marcel is laying in the bed and Tisha's like, okay, so tell me about this trip. And he was telling her how, he was like, do you know Monica, whatever her last name is? And she was like, oh yeah, I did a leadership conference with her before. And so then, he was saying that, you know, Martell had a party with ladies there. She's like, women there, what? And then, she's like, I thought it was a guys tripping. He's like, oh yeah, it was all women there. We were the only men there. And so Tisha's kind of shocked by that. And so then he talked about the strip club and then how they went to the strip club and then some of the dancers, I guess, wanted to come back to dance at the house, which they didn't show. So I don't know if that really happened. It probably did though. And so, Marcel gonna say, so, you know, Martell wanted to bring some strippers back to dance at the house and, you know, so, you know, I just did, you know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just do what I'm gonna do. So then Tisha's like, no, what do you do that you did you do? So then he's like, you know me, babe. I just, you know, I'm gonna do what I do. And like, what do you do, Marcel? What does that mean? I feel like he's playing games with us again in that scene to make us think that he confusing Tisha in the mind and all that. I'm so sick of Marcel and Tisha playing with their marriage and playing with us on this camera. Anyway, Tisha was asking questions and then Marcel was talking about Tiffany and Lewis's sex issues and Lewis feeling sexual frustration, feeling like he's not getting enough sex in the marriage. And Tisha's like, well, I would like to hear Tiffany's perspective because I'm pretty sure she's, you know, putting it down in the bedroom. She's doing everything she can. And Marcel was like, you know, if sex is an issue to me, if sex is important to you and it's not important to me, then it shouldn't be an issue with you getting it outsourced. I'm like, Marcel, what's that supposed to mean, sir? Like, that's a license to go cheat. And so then, again, playing with our faces. So anyway, Tisha said, well, you know, we're going to look at the men crazy if a woman, you know, a woman has to do all this stuff. They got to cook, they got to clean, they got to look over the kids, they working, they do all this stuff. And then you mad because you not getting sex the way you want, so you went out and got it from somebody else who can give you all their energy because they ain't got to do all the other stuff for you. Yeah, we gonna be looking at you crazy. And so then Marcel's like, well, man, we gotta work, go out and work, and then go hang out with our friends at the bar, and then come home drunk and have sex with you. So we got a lot to do too. And so it's like, Marcel, we can't even take you seriously, sir. Stop it. And so then anyway, so then he was like, yeah, man, we got to do all this stuff too. And then Tisha's like, and men, like, we don't want you just coming home from the bar with us and having sex. Like, that's not how it works. Like, why don't you rub our feet sometimes? Why don't you rub on our body? Like, you know, we get turned on by different things. Like, sometimes men, y'all need to do more. Y'all need to do it a different way, which is very, very true. And so anyway, they had their talk. Marcel talking in circles again. Anywho. Okay, so after everybody came home and lied to their wife after Atlanta, right? Then we see Tisha go talk to Dr. Francis, who we haven't seen in a minute. Hey, Dr. Francis. So Tisha talks to Dr. Francis about, he said she hasn't been there in a while. And so she did her homework. She's supposed to figure out who she was. And I forgot that he told her to do that. And so good for you, Tisha, for number one, going to therapy. And number two, actually doing your therapy homework. Because a lot of people don't do their therapy homework. So I really applaud her for doing that. And to figure out who Tisha is outside of being, a mom and a wife and all that. So she said, she looked at it, she's a child of God first, she's a mother, she's a sister, she's a lover, she's a friend, she's a wife, right? So she's like, okay, but now I need to know who am I outside all that, like who is Tisha to Tisha? And he pulled out the mirror and she was like, oh yeah, the mirror's my tool. I was up in the mirror, I was crying, I was snotting. He's like, oh, you didn't have to go that deep. And she's like, well, I did. I really wanted to figure out, who I am, to myself, and that's the hard part. And so I'm glad Tisha said that. Like, sounds like Tisha's really trying to do the work and knowing herself. And women and men, everybody, but especially women, know who you are. I think that is so, so, so important. I feel like some of the women older than me, even in my family, I don't feel like they always know who they are, just because of certain ways, we can grow up sometimes, or life circumstances, or, you get caught up in one thing and you don't really stop to really do any healing work, any evaluation of self. So I'm really big on healing traumas, evaluating myself, therapy, and really knowing who I am and standing firm in that and being okay with that, and maybe changing the things that I'm not okay with it myself. Not saying I'm perfect by any stretch of the imagination, y'all. I'm just saying I'm really big on self-work and self-awareness. And so I hope you guys take your own journey of self. So that was all my little plug of mental health I wanted to give out there. So anyway, so I'm proud of Tisha in this moment. So anywho, then Tisha was talking about how, since she's been, Dr. Francis asked her, how has this affected her relationship with Marcel? And so she said it's been good. Marcel has been really more asking what does he need to do to help support what Tisha wants to do. And so Dr. Francis was impressed by that, and so was we. And so then she talked about Marcel going to Africa by himself, and she was irritated with that because it's supposed to be a family trip. They always talked about going to Atlanta together, and that didn't happen. And so he said it was a last minute thing, and sorry, babies, at the last minute. Dr. Francis said, well, why you didn't go? And she said, well, I would have to get a nanny, the babysitters, the kids, school stuff. She probably it was going to be too many arrangements to make at the last minute. And so Marcel was like, oh, sorry, slipped my mind. He went to Tanzania. And so Dr. Francis was like, okay, last minute. No, he's like, he could have told you the last minute, but he didn't think about it to the last minute. Like, he had already planned that. Like, she was like, no. And he was like, so Tisha said she feels like, no, he said that there's a codependency thing happening. And she was like, Tisha wasn't really getting it. He's like, you don't really see it? And she's like, with me? And he's like, yeah, because he depends on you to deal with this last minute. Like, anything he throws into the marriage or drops into the marriage, he expects for you to just deal with it. And then she's like, okay, she sees that, and she just, trying to wait on him to change and get better. Girl, don't wait on nobody to change and get better. Do not wait on nobody to change and get better. I just learned my lesson from that. Don't do that. You got to change you and get better, okay? You can't change nobody and wait on them to get better. It's not going to happen because they don't see a problem with it, okay? Until you set the boundary, until you say, hey, that's not okay. Or you say, you know what, no, I'm not going to deal with you going to Africa at the last minute. Or I'm not going to deal with X, Y, and Z. That's how you have to do that, okay? So anyway, I didn't like what my camera position was there. So anywho, so then she said she going to wait around for Dr. Francis basically said, how long are you willing to wait? Like, how much are you willing to put up with this? Like, what are you going to do? And so, like I said, I feel like, Tisha, you need to change your behavior. That's how Marcel's going to change the behavior. Another good gem from my grandma and from a past therapist. You teach people how to treat you. And she's taught Marcel that it's okay to drop things on her like this because she's going to be there to deal with it no matter what. And so she needs to not be there to deal with it, or make him have a consequence for being, forgetting and doing things at the last minute. But anyway, so Dr. Francis says, him and his wife go on this couples retreat all the time, and he wants her to get her husband and the other couples and all their friends together to go on a couples retreat with Dr. Francis. I'm sure this is going to be an episode towards the end of the season. I look forward to seeing it. She's like, okay, like I'm down with it, but I'm talking to Marcel about it. I think it's going to happen, okay? In the previews to the next episode, we see everybody asking each other if they going to go. Do they got problems in the marriage? So anywho, then we see Martell at his mom's house. Look like he grilling something. And he had the Inez wine there for his mom and him to drink, and he said that he hadn't talked to his mom since the Atlanta trip, and so he's asking how she's doing, and he talked about Uncle Sam, and Mom said she heard a little bit about the incident, and Martell was like, I just understand, like, you know, why he had to bring it up there. I did apologize. I don't know why he was, you know, tripping like that. And so his mom let him know, like, you know, that's his mother, the way we feel about her, you know, of course. And then, you know, if he didn't feel like, you know, his mom was acknowledged that moment, that's why he acted that way. So Mom kind of understood, you know, and what, you know, they were talking, reminiscing, they were sitting there reminiscing about, she asked Martell, did he, you know, try to call and apologize again and talk to him? Has he talked to Uncle Sam since then? He said he didn't call him like 100 times. He lied in that moment. I just could tell the way he said it. He didn't call no 100 times. But anyway, we'll see. Hopefully Martell and his uncle's good, like I said. So then they were just sitting there, reminiscing over Inez, the grandma, and how they used to all go out to eat for brunch and dinners and stuff. And Martell did seem like he was close to his grandma, and he was saying, you know, he did just as much for his grandma. He's just as close to her. And, you know, it gets like that in family members. Certain people feel like, you know, they hold a special place in that a matriarch or patriarch's life, and then other people feel like they hold a more special place, and y'all know how I get in our family. So anyway, that's just kind of what that reminded me of. So anyway, they reminisced about the grandma. The grandma used to come to Martell's football games, and they would be freezing cold, and Martell's mom would try to take her home, but she would stick it out to the game. She'd be turning red, freezing out there, but she would go anyway. And then I guess the grandma died when Martell was in college or about to go to college or something, and he said it really affected him because he didn't even want to try out for the NFL with the NFL scouts that came to see him play. He didn't want to run for them, and he didn't want to do nothing. So it really affected him when his grandma died. And I can tell Martell was close to Grandma Inez as well, so I get it. Hopefully they've settled all their family beefs. And he did say he plans to have a future event with a more intimate wine release setting where he wants family and everybody to talk about what Inez meant to them. And so I'm sure hopefully he'll make it right with Uncle Sam. So anyway, moving on along, then we see Martell and Kimmy meet us. So Melody comes in, and Kimmy's like, oh, you looking good, girl. She's like, yeah, girl, I'm feeling good. You know, I wake up feeling good. I wake up happy every day, girl. And she's like, oh, Kimmy, that look good on you, girl. Yes, that is you doing that, girl. That is you. It looks so good, your skin color, girl. Kimmy's like, thank you, girl. You think so? Yes, thank you. Okay. So anyway, they talk about the trip to Atlanta. Kimmy talked about, you know, Maurice and Martell went down for the wine launching. Do you know about the wine, Melanie? She's like, I heard about it, but I don't really know much about it, girl. And so then Mel was like, so you don't mind, you know, Maurice going down there with Martell? She was like, oh no, like, you know, I think they should have fun. They, you know, guys gotta have their guy time, just like we gotta have our me time and all that too. And so she was like, but you wouldn't be worried about, like, you know, the company he's keeping, like Maurice going down there with Martell and the things Martell be doing. And she was like, well, no, like, I trust my husband. Like, I can only trust my husband, and so far he hasn't given me a reason not to trust him. So that's what it is. And I agree with Kimmy. Like, you know, why make something into something when it don't gotta be, right? So once you got the evidence, like, then what we getting mad about, right? So anyway, Kimmy says her confessional, she thinks that, you know, Mel wants, because she's dealt with the cheating thing with Martell, that she kind of feels like everybody gonna be dealing with that. It's not the case. And it did give that feeling like Mel just want everybody to be on guard for cheating now. And it's like, girl, relax. And so everybody's husband is not cheating on him, like Kimmy said, excuse me. And so anyway, then they talk about Melnika, and she was like, yeah, they brought up Melnika, and then Mel said, oh no, before that they said something about Uncle Sam. Martell's Uncle Sam was there. Well, she said one of his uncles was there. She didn't know which one. And then I guess that uncle got upset and all this stuff. And so then Mel said, I was like, oh, it must have been Uncle Sam. But I'm like, I feel like somebody told Mel that. Like, how does she know that? That was just kind of weird to me. So anyway, and then Mel said that he's usually even-tempered, so if he got mad, like, then he must have a real reason to be mad. Then they brought up Melnika. Sorry, I went a little out of order. So then Mel kind of laughed, and she's like, yeah, she was my wedding planner. And she quit like 3 weeks before the wedding, and I had to like hire her mother-in-law, and I didn't get my deposits back for all this stuff. And what happened was that Mel and Martell and whoever else and Melnika was on a three-way call, and Melnika was saying that, accusing Martell of cheating on that call and saying, yeah, Martell, you be asking me about my assistant and all this stuff. And then on the phone, Martell's like, oh, how dare you, Melnika, how dare you, try to accuse me of cheating and all this stuff, and, trying to talk to your assistant. So at the time, Mel, she said she was 22 and she believed Martell. Which I don't blame her. You're young. You're about to get married. You probably wondering why would this lady be saying that, And she probably just wanted her fairy tale ending of getting married. Although, girl, God was trying to tell you something that moment. So my Mel said, her 22-year-old self believed Martell at the time, but now her 36-year-old self would definitely be believing Melnika. Oh, that's crazy. And I believe it too. I believe Martell did that. I totally believe it. Totally believe it. Martell comes across that guy that thinks that he can have his cake and eat it too in all situations. I totally believe he was doing that. Now, my question is though, why, Melnika, are you so supportive of Martell now and wanting to be his manager and all that? I mean, I guess, that was a long time ago. That was what, 14, 15 years ago now? I probably did the math wrong on that, y'all. Sorry. Anyway. I'm after work hours. But anyway, I'm just like, why is Melnika, I guess maybe it's water under the bridge now. Maybe she feels like, it's a good business opportunity to work with Martell. I'm just like, why are you just so supportive of Martell now if you didn't like his behavior back then when he was going to marry Mel? But like I said, things change over the years, and maybe they got, pushed past it and moved over. And plus, now Martell's divorced and, circumstances has changed. So I just thought that was very interesting. And that was pretty much where the episode ended, y'all. Next week, we're going to see, the couples trying to figure out if they're going to go on this retreat or not. And Lewis and Tiffany look like they're going to go. Maurice feels like they're in a good place. And Kimmy was like, well, you feel like I got anything I got to work on? Maurice brings up sex. I think he wants sex every day or something like that. Anyway, we gonna see what happened, y'all. Y'all like, comment, subscribe, and share. Okay, I'm gonna come back with Love and Marriage DC and P Valley. All right, talk to y'all soon. Drop down in the comments and let me know what y'all thought of the episode and this review. Bye.